We're live.
Hi, and welcome to another exciting pirate news. We have the whole crew here with you this evening. The one and only Jamie, our fearless captain. The magnificent Malt. And the one and only Steve.
Good evening.
So we're a little sparse on some of the crazier things, other than the fact that there's a storm out there that was fairly anticlimactic for at least my area or neck of the woods. Despite the publicity, I was expecting it to be much, much more.
Rhode Island got it bad.
I heard Tennessee got it bad too, honestly. There was I just saw an update that 50 are missing from the flooding in Tennessee. But that being said, my thoughts obviously go to the families. I'm sure we all care. But on a more techie news, or at least a political front, we have some updates for about January 6th.
Yeah. So if any of you have been looking forward to seeing any of the Oath Keepers involved facing charges in court, they are not going to be. The trials are not scheduled before January. So it's going to be until the next year until we see anybody from the Oath Keepers face charges for their role in coordinating the attack. There's a lot of evidence that suggests that high-level Oath Keepers were in contact with Republican party leaders prior to January 6th. There are allegations that specific named Republicans gave tours to Oath Keepers the day before the attack. So we're going to have to chill on that for a bit longer. There were two former police officers from Rocky Mount, Virginia, rejected plea deals offered by the U.S. Department. So they're going to go to trial. The problem a lot of folks are running into is that the FBI is claiming that they're not finding evidence that the attack was planned, which seems absurd because folks in the open source intelligence community have the transcripts and the chat logs of these conservative cult leaders rallying their violent cults and sects and cells to travel en masse to Washington, D.C., specifically for the violence that Trump called for. So, the FBI, man, I don't know. I learned something else interesting about the FBI. So there's a publisher, Martinet Press, who publishes largely esoteric, spiritualist, and philosophical texts under a number of banners, especially affiliated with the Order of Nine Angels Temple of Blood.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
That sounds real special.
Yeah,
That's kind of for those avenging angels, right? Not the one who talks you off the bridge and like It's a Wonderful Life and says, no, you should continue your life. No, these are the ones with the swords and stuff.
I was thinking more Hell's Angels, but
Yeah.
The explicitly white, explicitly fascist cult and magic with a K type texts. And like these books have been found owned like in Europe and America, like owned by violent criminals affiliated with racist hate movements. So it was recently revealed that it's this press is run by a man named Joshua Caleb Sutter, a member of Atomwaffen Division. He was revealed to be an FBI informant who has earned over $140,000 as he's been actively involved in organizing and facilitating racist terror campaigns. And like it keeps happening. It keeps happening that people in the white supremacist movement in positions of power are either directly employed by the FBI, have military or government backgrounds, or are in contact with confidential informants or FBI agents. And then you have the other cases where the FBI is directly responsible for radicalizing and facilitating hoax attacks. Like there was one group who bought fake C4 to blow up a bridge in, I think it was like Arkansas, and who was entirely pushed by a confidential informant looking for a payout.
So wait, was this guy, was he the FBI's informant for the purpose of spying on anyone affiliated with Atomwaffen?
I think he was probably gathering information on Atomwaffen, yes. The most information he would have access to would be the private, like, personal identities of pseudonymous hate writers working for the Martinet Press company.
Well, I mean, we've had the history of the CIA backing various organizations, and the FBI ran its own porn site for about 2 weeks. So, you know.
It wasn't just a porn site. It was a child porn site.
That's thank you for that correction. Yes. A child porn site, right. Yes.
I mean, locally, I think the history of Whitey Bulger and his handlers, that's also kind of special.
Yeah. Whitey Bulger being backed by the FBI. Long history of kind of messing up here.
I don't know if they're messing up. Like, it's only a mess up if this goes contrary to their aims and goals. And I don't think we can really assume that it is.
Well, when you assume, you make a... Are we trying to
leap in assumption logic? Botch that joke. I'm tired.
So you're talking before, Malt, about a vulnerability that has recently been identified.
Oh man! So this has been all over Twitter the last day. I just do any of you guys own Razer products?
No.
Okay. For those of you not familiar, Razer produces a line of like fairly high-end gamer products, like uncomfortable mice, uncomfortable USB game pads. They've been coming under a lot of fire lately for having increasingly invasive, increasingly invasive, we're going to call it, surveillance products included in the software that their mice need to function. So it's basically what happens is this: if you plug in a Razer mouse, or even just the dongle from a wireless mouse, Windows Update goes to download the Razer installer, and from the Explorer window that pops up, you can shift right click to launch PowerShell to then elevate yourself to administrator access. So if you have physical access to a USB port and a Razer product, or remote access to a computer that has Razer software installed, you have administrative access with a shift and a right click.
Oops.
Yup. Big oops.
Now, one of the things that,
Wait, sorry. Before we move on, I want to credit the Twitter user John Hat at J0NH4T. Twitter user John Hat was the one who posted it. Credit to them.
Physical little physical hacks like that. One of the places where I would, my first thought of, well, where could you actually use this? And you take something like take a typical ATM machine. A typical ATM machine, although it's basically a Windows computer running in kiosk mode. I know this because I was making a withdrawal one day and the damn thing crashed in the middle. It rebooted. I saw the Windows startup screen, and didn't give me my money. I fortunately got that part straightened out, but there's in terms, I believe Ford for quite a while was using Windows in like as sort of the basis for at least the entertainment portion of its vehicles. So there are the idea of where a computer is not just the box that sits next to your desk as in an old Dilbert cartoon. They're embedded in lots of different places, and some of them by nature, like ATMs, for example, do involve physical access. Now the question is, well, can you find a USB port on an ATM on an ATM machine? I'd hope the answer would be no, but
I mean, you just need like a set of security screws. So the bigger advantage here is that all you need to execute it is a mouse or a mouse dongle. So if someone stops you and you have like a hex bolt screwdriver on you, that's suspicious. But if you work in an office and you have a gamer mouse, like that's weird, but that's not going to raise any eyebrows.
Mhm.
Like they're also popular with designers, like graphic designers. Like I did not pay any money for what I'm about to show you. This was given to me, but I've got one of these ridiculous like multiple button color changing LED customizable weight insert mice that was given to me by someone. And like the multiple buttons are like super useful. So like if
And
you
that
were
does not constitute an endorsement of said product.
right,
the point is that mouse ergonomics, there's a range, and depending on how you use a computer, different people have different preferences. Some
right. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I was gonna wait for you to say something, and then I was gonna jump in and say, and then there's trackball users who are Satanists.
No, the joystick users, they're the Satanists.
Oh,
Flight
man.
sim weirds.
I love
That
my
brings back memories.
Star Wars games back in the early 90s. TIE Fighter for the win.
But so like this hack is ideal if you're working in like an office situation because the tool is extremely ubiquitous, and if someone sees you doing it, unless they specifically know what to look for, it's not going to be immediately evident what you're doing.
Mhm.
It just looks like you're plugging in the mouse and trying to get the software to work.
That said, if you tried this at the MBTA terminals, which I know run Windows,
Oh yeah.
someone might notice unless you're properly attired.
Mhm.
Not that I'm endorsing that.
I want to know, do they use Windows Millennium Edition? And can you play Doom on it?
Playing Doom on an ATM will be amazing, actually. But that being said, we don't endorse any criminal activity. Do not get yourself arrested. Not worth it.
But lulls are okay.
I won't come bail you out if you tell the police that you did something because I told you to, but I will attempt to high five you from across the glass as I come to say, I don't have the money to bail you out.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
I won't contribute.
All right. Anything else on the agenda for tonight?
Yeah, sorry.
One
That
thing
being
I just
said,
want to
thank you
mention,
so much.
is simply that there was a recent Washington Post opinion column where some let's see, it is Jonathan Mayer, who's an assistant professor at Princeton University, and Anune, I hope I don't mispronounce this, Cole Shrestha, who's a graduate researcher at Princeton University, and a PhD candidate in the CS department. Basically, they wrote an op-ed saying that they attempted to implement what Apple plans to implement and release in 22 days, which is namely the child porn scanner of all of your iCloud images, as well as potentially all of the images you send, receive, and those on your phone. That they tried to implement such a system and that they found that the privacy implications were just too dangerous.
Yep.
I had a foolish thought. What if Apple secretly is just going to mechanical Turk all this stuff out?
So I'm actually really glad you
I mean,
brought
that's
that up, because that is actually exactly what has to happen now with sites that publish and produce adult content. The reason that OnlyFans is shooting itself in the foot dick is because it is required by MasterCard, and almost certainly soon to follow Visa, that every piece, every image, and every second of video uploaded to the site must be verified by a person that everyone appearing in the image is who they say they are and legally able to perform in it. And this regulation was passed because American conservatives have managed to equate pornography and the production of adult content with human trafficking.
Hello, Fosta and Sesta.
Oh, gee, I was going to say hello, Matt Gates.
Yeah, I'd heard about that, but what about OnlyFans not allowing there to be any more OnlyFans? I knew it had to do with the banking.
Yep. You got to follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the banking came in and was like, nope, you're not going to do that anymore. And they're like, well,
And the problem is, this is exactly what activists in the sex work community said would happen.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the possibility that of like going to cryptocurrency?
Which one?
Oh, that's true. That's true.
I'm sorry.
I mean, apparently Bitcoin's been going up in price, but
Why? No, don't ask. I don't want to know.
I mean,
It's gonna be
there's
something
there's certainly a need to be able to get outside the thumb of Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and PayPal, and all of those. Unfortunately, a lot of certainly the early cryptocurrencies are really, they have this gold bug philosophy, and they don't view it as just a payment mechanism. It's a store of value. And if it was just a payment mechanism, sure, it would be absolutely great. But
asterisk on absolutely great. The environmental impact is still completely untenable and unjustifiable. Like, there's so much talk about switching to a proof of stake model, which supposedly would help minimize the impact, but like, it hasn't happened yet, and I'm beginning to suspect that it just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
well, yeah, there are certainly different cryptocurrencies that use different methods. I know there was one about hard drive space or something like
Chime.
that.
So the problem with Chime is that it refills these, they call them plots of unused data in unused storage drives, and it just keeps filling and refilling the space, which means that you burn through storage. So it basically just now has created a bubble in demand for storage drives that the bubble demand for graphics cards was just a year ago.
Yeah, I don't. So for me, for being a pirate, right? The thing is, we
I'm
want to
with
get
you.
rid of constraints, right? We want information to be people to be able to get knowledge and information and have access to it. We want to get rid of the gatekeepers. And then people come in with cryptocurrencies and they're like, oh, well, we want to put constraints on it because we want it to be limited. It's like, it's the internet. It has the potential of being limitless. Why are we constraining ourselves?
David Wong
My-
/ Jason Pargin had a really good article about this on Cracked, called Farts, Forced Artificial Scarcity. And like that's what NFTs are, and it's literally just a scarcity mentality. And it's the scarcity mentality and the hope of the moonshot explosion in value that just has people dumping vast quantities of money into computer hardware.
And, you know, when it really comes down to it, is it actually helping the world by chewing up all this extra resources?
I am of the humble opinion that it does not.
Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining me this evening. That's all the time we have today, but I really do appreciate your thoughtful and insightfulness in these topics. For those viewing at home, please like, share, and subscribe because it does feed the algorithm and it does help. And that being said, if you want to throw any comments, we're always looking for interesting feedback. So thank you so much for this. And gentlemen, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
Vive la France!
Take care, all. Bye.
I was born in 57 cabins.